The crystalline chamber hummed, a low thrumming resonance that vibrated through the very bones of the assembled Xyler. Light, refracted through colossal prisms embedded in the ceiling, cast dancing, ethereal patterns across their segmented carapaces, each facet of their exoskeletons reflecting the internal anxieties that gripped the ruling council of the Krill Dominion. Grand Architect Thuron, his mandibles clicking a rapid, nervous tattoo against his polished plasteel podium, was the first to break the pregnant silence. His voice, a guttural rasp, echoed through the cavernous space. "The readings are inconsistent, the sensor data disturbing." He paused, the multifaceted eyes of his peers, the grand strategist Zalera, the high emissary Varek, and the enigmatic oracle Xylo, all fixed upon him, demanding clarity. The very air seemed thick with the weight of expectation and the unspoken dread that clung to the fringes of their understanding. Zalera, her massive, armored form shifting slightly, a sound like grinding stone, responded with characteristic pragmatism. "Inconsistent. Explain, Architect. We have been monitoring this anomaly for cycle upon cycle. What has changed?" Her voice, normally a command, was tinged with a subtle tremor, betraying the unease that even the most seasoned war leader could not entirely suppress. The anomaly was, of course, the humans, a whisper, a ghost, a legend that haunted the edges of their stellar charts and the ancient, fragmented archives of the Krill. A species, they were told, that defied categorization. A species that, for epochs, they had dismissed as myth. Yet lately, their sensors had begun to churn, detecting fluctuations in the energy signatures of the distant system of Sol. Signatures that matched, with unnerving accuracy, the descriptions of the mythical humans. Thuron gestured toward the immense holographic display at the center of the chamber, a swirling nebula of data streams and spectral analyses. The display pulsed with unsettling energy, revealing distortions in the gravitational fields near the Sol system, an inexplicable surge of exotic particles, and most concerning, a series of complex energy emissions that defied all known Krill technology. "The energy signatures are evolving," he rasped. "They are becoming more potent, more complex, and the gravitational distortions, they are spreading. It is as if—" he hesitated, loath to utter the terrifying possibility. Varek, the high emissary, a creature of intricate diplomatic protocols and calculated pronouncements, inclined his head slowly. "As if they are preparing to engage." He chose his words with meticulous care, each syllable laden with the weight of potential consequence. The Krill, for all their technological prowess and vast dominion, had always prioritized diplomacy over conquest. War, for the Krill, was a last resort, a catastrophic failure of their intricate systems of negotiation. The thought of conflict, particularly with a species they knew so little about, sent shivers through his multifaceted eyes. The silence that followed stretched, punctuated only by the rhythmic hum of the chamber and the crackling static of the holographic display. Xylo, the oracle, remained silent, her form a swirling vortex of shimmering energy within her containment field. Her presence was a constant reminder of the unseen, the preternatural. Krill relied on Xylo's guidance to navigate the treacherous currents of the cosmos, to decipher the whispers of fate, to predict the movements of the unknowable. Now, however, the oracle offered no solace, no definitive answers. The silence from Xylo was the greatest anxiety of all. Finally, Zalera spoke, her voice laced with grim determination. "We must gather more information, deploy reconnaissance probes, analyze their infrastructure, assess their capabilities. We cannot afford to be caught off guard." The logic was undeniable, but even as the words left her mandibles, the unspoken question hung in the air. Are we already too late? The reconnaissance probes, sleek, silent sentinels, slipped into the Sol system under the cover of the interstellar void. Their primary mission was simple: gather data, scan, observe, analyze. They were equipped with advanced sensor arrays designed to penetrate even the most sophisticated stealth technology. Yet as the first probe approached the planet designated Earth, it encountered an anomaly. The probe's sensors, designed to measure energy emissions, were immediately overloaded by a surge of radiation. The data streamed back to the Krill Dominion, a torrent of incomprehensible information. Energy signatures unlike anything they had ever encountered. Complex patterns of electromagnetic waves. Gravitational distortions that defied known physics. The Krill scientists, working around the clock, struggled to make sense of the incoming data, their faces etched with confusion and mounting dread. Then came the first direct contact. The Krill command centers went into immediate lockdown. A single, clear, undeniable message had been transmitted across the void, a message of pure information. "Greetings, we are humanity. We observe your probes. We welcome communication." The message was accompanied by a brief, low-resolution visual transmission, a series of moving images of the surface of a blue and green planet, followed by the image of humans, bipedal creatures of frail appearance with smooth, hairless skin and soft, expressive faces. They were unremarkable, yet in their eyes the Krill saw a depth, an intelligence, a determination that sent a shiver through their collective consciousness. The Grand Council convened again, this time with a palpable sense of urgency. The air crackled with tension, the whispers of fear now a deafening roar. The data had been analyzed, the visual transmission scrutinized. The Krill, for all their technological sophistication, were facing a species that defied their comprehension. Thuron, his carapace almost visibly trembling, spoke. "The energy emissions, they are immense. They are radiating outwards like a supernova. The technology, it is not simply advanced. It is different, fundamentally different from anything we have encountered." Zalera, her armored form rigid with controlled anxiety, questioned the data. "But their physical forms are weak, vulnerable. They lack the natural defenses of our kind." "That," the Oracle Xylo said for the first time, her voice a low, melodic chime, "may be the greatest deception." The words hung in the air, a prophecy. Varek cleared his throat. "We must respond. We must establish a dialogue. The potential for conflict is undesirable. We cannot afford to risk a war with a species we do not understand." The Krill, for all their power, were not immune to the primal fear of the unknown. They had faced galactic threats before, monstrous predators and technologically superior civilizations. But the humans were different. They were an enigma wrapped in an enigma. Their technology was both incomprehensible and terrifying, and their motivations were utterly inscrutable. Diplomatic protocols were hastily drafted. A formal response, a tentative invitation for further communication, was carefully composed and transmitted. The Krill held their breath, waiting. The response from the humans was immediate. "We understand your concerns. We share your desire for peaceful interaction. We propose a meeting." A location was designated, a neutral zone in a sparsely populated region of space. The Krill sent a diplomatic delegation, escorted by a small detachment of war cruisers, a precaution, a necessary show of force, a desperate gamble. As their vessel, the Krillur Asterisk, emerged from hyperspace, they saw it. A human vessel unlike anything they had ever conceived of. It was not a warship. It was not a science vessel. It was something else entirely. Sleek, elegant, its surface reflecting the cold, distant light of the stars. It was a vessel that embodied the paradox of the humans, both fragile and powerful, both unassuming and terrifying. The Krill, steeped in the logic of war and conquest, understood only brute force, but what they were confronted with was something they could not even begin to classify. The Krillur cautiously approached the alien ship, a sense of awe and dread washing over the Krill diplomats. The meeting took place aboard the human vessel. The Krill delegation, led by Varek, entered a vast circular chamber filled with soft, diffused light and an atmosphere of serene calmness. Humans, two of them, awaited them. The creatures they had analyzed from afar. The beings they had feared and misunderstood. One, a tall, slender woman with long, flowing hair and bright, intelligent eyes, stepped forward. She was dressed in a simple, functional garment, the fabric shimmering subtly as she moved. She extended a hand in a gesture of greeting. "Welcome, emissaries of the Krill Dominion. I'm Commander Eva Rostova, and this is Dr. Jian Li. We are pleased to meet you." Varek, schooled in centuries of diplomatic ritual, cautiously extended his own manipulator in a reciprocal gesture. The physical contact was brief, but the subtle vibrations, the exchange of energy, was immediately noted by the Krill delegation. Eva Rostova's words, delivered in a clear, precise tone, had a calming effect. "We understand your concerns. We are aware of the reputation that precedes us. It is understandable that you would be cautious." The Krill were taken aback. They were expecting deception, aggression, a calculated display of power. Instead, they were met with empathy. "We have studied your species," Dr. Li said, his voice measured, his gaze direct. "Your culture, your history, your technological achievements, we find much to admire." The revelation was profound. The humans had been studying them. They knew them. Their every move, their every war, their every political blunder. And yet they had not attacked. They had not conquered. They had offered dialogue. Over the next cycle, the human delegation and the Krill diplomats engaged in a series of intense, illuminating discussions. The Krill, initially skeptical, began to see the depth of human knowledge, the clarity of their logic, and the profound depth of their ethical framework. The Krill were exposed to the astonishing capabilities of the humans. They revealed technology that made Krill innovation seem primitive. They explained their principles of energy manipulation, gravitational fields, and spacetime itself. They showed the Krill the very fabric of reality. They showed the Krill how they had unlocked the secrets of the universe. The most profound reveal was their purpose. They revealed their drive for exploration, for understanding. They spoke of a cosmic imperative to preserve and nurture life, to explore the endless possibilities of existence. The Krill, focused on their own dominion, had never even considered the value of the vast universe. The Krill learned that humanity's apparent technological supremacy was not a tool for domination, but a means to the greater ends of understanding and preservation. Their true power was not in their weapons, but in their minds, in their ability to see the universe in a way the Krill could never have imagined. As the humans unveiled their secrets, the Krill were both terrified and humbled. They had underestimated humanity's potential. They had misjudged their motivations. They had, in their arrogance, almost stumbled into a conflict that could have extinguished them all. Then came the second, even greater, reveal. The humans revealed the existence of a threat far greater than themselves, a cosmic entity, ancient and malevolent, that had begun to stir in the depths of space. This entity, a force of pure entropy, was consuming galaxies, leaving behind nothing but cold, empty voids. The humans, alone in their vast exploration of the cosmos, had discovered the threat long ago. Their advanced technology was not for their own benefit, but to stop this entity. They were the sentinels of the galaxy, the protectors of all life. They had been waiting. They had been watching, waiting for the Krill to evolve enough to be ready to act with them. "We are not conquerors, Emissary Varric," Eva Rostova said, her voice filled with a quiet intensity. "We are guardians. We fight not for territory or power, but for the very survival of existence. And now we believe it is time for the Krill to join us." The Krill Council convened again, this time with a new perspective, a new sense of urgency. The implications of the human revelations were staggering. The Krill, for all their power, were facing a threat that dwarfed any they had ever encountered. The future of their dominion, the future of their species, depended on their ability to forge an alliance with the humans. Zalara, who had previously been the most skeptical of the humans, now spoke with a renewed resolve. "Their technology, it is astounding, but it is not just technology, it is a philosophy, a way of life. They see the universe differently than we do, and perhaps that is the very thing we need." Varric, his voice now tinged with a hint of humility, agreed. "We have been wrong, we have been short-sighted. The humans are not a threat, they are our salvation." Thuron, the architect, nodded slowly, his multifaceted eyes reflecting the vastness of space. "We must learn from them. We must adapt. We must prepare." Xylo, the oracle, remained silent until now, her energy field growing more intense. When she spoke, her voice was not a whisper, but a clear, commanding voice of certainty. The humans were just a dangerous legend until the truth was uncovered, the truth of their intent, the truth of their power, and the truth of the universe. A collective decision was made. The Krill Dominion would ally itself with humanity. They would share their resources, their technology, their knowledge. They would stand together, shoulder to shoulder, against the encroaching darkness. The first act of unity was the design of a joint defense force. Human and Krill scientists worked together, merging their technology, their knowledge, their experience. They constructed new war vessels that were faster, more powerful, and more versatile than anything either species had ever created. They armed them with weapons capable of penetrating the entity's defenses. As the Krill and humans began the task of preparing for war, a transmission was received. A signal, ancient and complex, emanating from the depths of the void. It was a beacon, a siren call. It was a message from beyond. The Krill and the humans were joined as allies for the first time. They had stared into the face of a terrifying cosmic threat, but they had not crumbled. The humans had shown the Krill that even in the darkest corners of the universe there was still light to be found. And that light was humanity. Eva Rostova, as the fleet commander of this joint force, stood before the combined Krill and human officers. Her voice rang out across the vast war room. "We stand at the precipice of history against an enemy of pure entropy. We stand as one." She continued, "The enemy is coming. We will meet them on the battlefield, the vast void between stars. We are not just defending our civilizations. We are protecting the very essence of existence. We are protecting life. We are protecting the future." "And what is the plan?" demanded Zalara. Commander Rostova's face changed slightly. She didn't smile, but her eyes did seem to sparkle. "The plan, Grand Strategist, is what we humans do best." "And what is that?" questioned Zalara. "The unexpected." Rostova's command ship led a massive alliance fleet into the void. Ships of all shapes and sizes, Krill cruisers, human warships, each ship carrying the hopes and fears of two civilizations. The enemy, as predicted, was a tide of pure destruction, an endless void of pure darkness. The Krill, using their superior maneuverability, swarmed the flanks, drawing the enemy's attention. The humans, with their superior technology, unleashed devastating energy weapons, cutting into the enemy's ranks. A battle ensued, one of the greatest ever fought, a desperate struggle against the encroaching void. The battle raged for days, then weeks. The Krill and the humans, fighting together as a single entity, slowly, agonizingly began to push back the tide of destruction. It was an impossible fight, a struggle against a force of cosmic destruction. At the very heart of the conflict, the combined human and Krill fleets managed to achieve a breakthrough. Their combined weapons, firing in a precise, synchronized pattern, created a ripple in space-time, a rupture in the fabric of reality. They sent a burst of pure energy into the heart of the entity, forcing the void to react. In that moment of victory, something unexpected happened. The entity, reacting to the combined assault, did not simply shatter. It divided. It splintered into smaller pieces, and it began to retreat. The remaining darkness pulled back like a frightened animal retreating into the depths of space. The Krill and the humans had won, but their victory was not complete. The entity's retreat left behind a new, larger puzzle. The void that had been was gone, but in its place was something else, an enormous megastructure, an ancient, colossal, abandoned structure of unknown origin whose dimensions boggled the mind. It stretched for light years, a silent monument of a civilization lost to time. The Krill and the humans, stunned, looked at each other, a silent question passing between them. "What is that?" questioned Zalara. Commander Rostova gazed at the megastructure. "That grand strategist is the next frontier, and from the looks of it, a long-lost echo of creation." The signal that had been received before the battle now made sense. They knew that the signal had been a calling, a challenge, a beckoning towards the unknown. They knew that the battle was just the beginning. As they stood together on the edge of the void, they did not know what they would find. They did not know what dangers awaited them, but they knew one thing: they were not alone. And the universe, for all its mysteries, was now open to them. They were united, and they were ready to meet whatever the future held. The humans, once a dangerous legend, had become the vanguard of a new era. They had shown the Krill the truth, not only of their own power, but of the universe itself. And the Krill, in turn, had learned to see beyond the fear, beyond the power, and to embrace the unity that would define them. The final scene, a sweeping shot across the starfield, reveals the Krill and human fleets, side by side, heading towards the unknown megastructure. A silent promise, a silent vow. Their journey together had just begun. A single human voice, that of Commander Rostova, echoed across the void as the megastructure loomed before them. "The universe is vast. The universe is mysterious. The universe is waiting." The end.